people who've been working round the clock to ensure that, in spite of very difficult circumstances, the House is able to operate and to transact business and to ensure that we are able to carry out our mandate under Article 94 and 95. Mr. Speaker, the request that I wish to make to you is a request for a ruling, which I have captured in a letter, and it's in relation of the extent to which members may be able to carry out their legislative mandate that is contemplated under the Constitution and the standing orders. And here I am talking about the interaction and the delicate balance that needs to be struck between House business and the prioritization of government business and business that comes to the House and business that is generated by ordinary members. Mr. Speaker, nearly about 80% of the business that we engage in the House is government business. But Article 94 and 95 of the Constitution and the standing orders contemplate that the work of legislation is legislation that all members in their corporate and individual capacities are supposed to be able to participate in. As a practitioner myself in the legislative corridors trying to do this, I have come to find that there is need for this House to have or to be enriched by a ruling of the Speaker on how we interact with departmental committees in terms of the bills that private member bills that we generate and take to them. To what extent do those end up being stalled or dying along the way after members of parliament spend so much time in terms of research? And to what extent does the House business and both committees enhance the legislative role and mandate of the members? And I'm saying this taking into account that under Article 1 of the Constitution, the people of Kenya have donated to us the power to legislate. The legislative power and authority belongs to the House corporately. Equally, that power that we are given, delegated to us by the people, we have donated it to our departmental committees, not so that they are an end in themselves, but so that they facilitate and enable the members to carry out their business. This includes House business, and this includes the departmental committees. Mr. Speaker, because of time, I have elaborated this in a request that I have put to you, and with your kind permission, would like to ask if the House can benefit from a ruling in this regard. I thank you.
Well, of course, the work of the House Business Committee here is not to stifle in any way the legislative efforts by any member. But if, as you desire, the House brings a ruling, which, strictly speaking, is very good to restate what is in the standing orders and what is in the Constitution. It's unlikely to, because obviously, as a House, we must have a mechanism by which we process business, even legislative initiatives by individual members. Notwithstanding that the legislative authority, as you rightly pointed out, at the national level vests in Parliament. But I will address the matter in a more detailed form. Next order. Oh, sorry, Honorable Sabina, you have something also? A statement? He's also doing another one. Let's first of all get the leader majority to. Oh, you are ready with your statement? Very well, but please make it brief.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. Honorable Speaker, I have a statement on various issues related to COVID-19 pandemic from the Committee of Health. Honorable Speaker, the House is aware that on 28 February, His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta issued an executive order establishing the National Emergency Response Committee to coordinate the country's preparedness and response to coronavirus. Honorable Speaker, on March 15th, travel restrictions were also issued in some of the areas that are hard hit by the COVID. Honorable Speaker, as at per Tuesday, that is yesterday 28th, we had a total of 374 persons who had been confirmed having contracted COVID-19. And so far, 124 persons have fully recovered, and the country has unfortunately lost 14 persons, and we send condolences to the families of the deceased. However, it is encouraging, Honorable Speaker, to note that no fatalities have been reported in the last 2 weeks. And the 374 persons confirmed are of ages between 2 years and 89 years, and the majority, 234, are between the ages of 25 to 50 years. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, this then it actually now kills the myth that this virus only affects the aged. Honorable Speaker, on this report, I will not go through the number of cases per county, but as I table, members are free to have a look at it. We want to thank the government through the Ministry of Health for moving fast in instituting the necessary protocols to guide the fight against this pandemic, guided by various legislation approved by this House. In a special way, I want to sincerely appreciate our warriors, the frontline medics, working tirelessly and in difficult circumstances to save life during this pandemic. Honorable Speaker, as opposed to media reports of having received 40 billion to fight against COVID-19 pandemic, the Ministry of Health has received only 300 million shillings, which has been shared amongst the government institutions as follows. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs was given 10 million to facilitate Kenyan students in Wuhan, China. The Ministry of Defense received 75 million for defense team preparedness and readiness to response. National Youth Service, 10 million to provide security at the isolation and quarantine facilities, in addition to provide buses and personnel. Kenyatta National Hospital, 150 million to provide additional bed capacity at Bagathi Hospital Isolation Center. State Department of Broadcasting and Telecommunication, 5 million to facilitate community outreaches and media tours across regions. State Department of Public Works, 1.5 million to facilitate completion of construction works, fencing and provision of access roads to isolation centers at Bagathi Hospital. And Ministry of Health got 48,500,000 for providing the medical response and logistics at the isolation center and quarantine centers. Additional Ministry of Health, under the supplementary budget too, has been allocated an estimated 5.42 billion to fight the pandemic. However, it is yet to receive any of these funds because we just allocated them. It is good to let this House know how this 5.42 billion has been planned by the government of Kenya. Amount of 1 billion is earmarked for increasing healthcare workers to be utilized by June 2020. And I'll also be tabling a report on how many healthcare workers per county that the government is planning in conjunction with the county governments. The World Bank money has been 1 billion, and this is USD 10 million for negotiated under the Transforming Health System for Universal Health Coverage project that has been earmarked for emergency response, including procurement of PPEs, medicine, setting up of isolation facilities and operation centers. 2.34 billion, a further of USD 50 million has been negotiated to support the COVID response. Already, 2.66 is being processed to be accessed in the IFMIS. Additional 2.3B will be confirmed upon finalization of supplementary budget number 2 for year 2019-2020. The Global Fund also has given 493,154,000, which approval is to allocate Global Fund to COVID-19 response has been granted within Global Fund regulations, and finalizing preparation of budget for approval by Global Fund for 960 tests to be done. That is 960,000 tests. Gavi have given 164,165,900. The authority to reallocate these funds have been issued by Gavi, and these funds will be channeled towards addressing gap areas within Gavi regulations. The budget is ongoing. COVID-19 Fund Board has not given any amount to the government, And there was a request to fund PPEs, laboratory testing, and communication. So that is a total of 5.426 money that is yet to be received for fight against the COVID. Honorable Speaker, human resource for health is the most critical resource in Kenya response to the threat posed by COVID-19 pandemic as witnessed in other countries struggling with this pandemic. To this end, the Ministry of Health is working with both public, national and county, as well as private health sector service providers to map out health workers of different cadres that are available to offer services in context of the COVID-19 pandemic. Additionally, the government of Kenya has provided the following funds towards recruitment of medical staff. For Kenyatta University Teaching, Referral and Research Hospital, there will be additional of 568 staff members. For Bagathi COVID-19 Center, 288. For Moi Teaching Referral Hospital, 94. For human resource for the some counties and also the list is attached, 1,059 members of staff, and human resource for national level, 60 of them. The total amount that is going to be spent on this is 936,742,782 on these salaries. Honorable Speaker and members, regarding isolation centers, the Minister of Health has set up functional units in Kenyatta National Hospital, Bagathi Hospital, and Kenyatta University Hospital, which has now been dedicated, this is Kenyatta University Hospital, to be the hospital to handle the COVID-19 caseload in the country. That means the hospital will not do any other operation. Kenyatta University Hospital, which has a bed capacity of 600, had only operationalized 300 beds only, and through the supplementary estimate 2 before the House, the committee proposed some additional 500 million towards facilitating Kenyatta University Hospital to fully operationalize the remainder 300-bed capacity in order to allow it to deal with the surge in COVID-19 numbers. However, in case of a surge in confirmed cases, the government has set up other cumulative isolation capacity in the country of 1,883 beds. The projected need for isolation beds is at 3,116, 2,280 county isolation beds, and 836 national isolation beds. Honorable Speaker and members, in order to standardize the isolation centers across the counties, the Ministry of Health has developed guidelines for isolation centers, which has been shared with all the counties. The guidelines provide that each county sets aside 2 isolation facilities with standardized equipment and human resources requirements. Further, a standardized layout of the isolation facilities with similar infection prevention control provisions have been developed by reference by the counties. Further, the guidelines provides for capacity building of competent teams to work in these isolation facilities and rationalization of the available critical care facilities such as ICU, ventilators to ensure equitable access to across the country. Counties have identified other small health facilities to be used in the case of numbers becoming overwhelming. Honorable Speaker and members, it is important to note that about 80% of confirmed COVID-19 patients are asymptomatic and should not congest health facilities where critical care is availed for those in need. As such, selected boarding school, colleges, and stadia with appropriate infrastructure has been identified for admission of positive asymptomatic patients, aimed at protecting the community and health workers offering critical care. And just to clear what is asymptomatic patient, majority of the positive cases in Kenya, Mr. Speaker, do not show any signs of COVID. So you find somebody who is normal, they have no high temperatures, they are not coughing, and they look normal, but they have the virus and they are positive. These are the most dangerous ones, Mr. Speaker, because they go on with normal businesses as usual, even themselves not knowing that they have the virus, and they can spread it, and especially if they interact with the people with low immunity. If they interact with people with low immunity, Mr. Speaker, they will spread this virus. Hence, need for them to be isolated, though they don't need to be actually in a medical facility because they are actually not sick or they don't show any sign of being sick. Regarding the procurement of test kits, lab reagents, and other personal protective equipment for frontline workers, as expected, the global supply chain had ceased to function in its usual form with the spread of COVID within the globe. Producing countries of PPEs, equipment, medicines, and medical devices have restricted exports. As a result, the government of Kenya engaged multilateral agencies and bilateral relations on the procurement of commodities. Government expenditure has now also focused on available resources, from with priority being given a procurement of emergency consumables to facilitate protection of health workers, sample collection and test for COVID-19. Emergency procurement valued at 849 to 681 were initiated through KEMSA, with a focus on essential commodities and services in addition to government engagement. And there is an attachment statement in the distribution list to the county governments by KEMSA. The government has also engaged following local farms to produce face masks and make affordable to the common mwananchi, whose list is also attached. The President issued a 3-month moratorium for the counties to source critical medical commodities and equipment outside the KEMSA procurement framework. Honorable members, this will allow counties to source for these items in a faster way in the market. Honorable Speaker and members, regarding the equipment and ICU bed capacities, evidence indicates that access to ICU services is the most critical factor in determining survival amongst COVID-19 patients, the one with severe illness. The Ministry of Health has taken stock of ICU capacity countrywide and is rationalizing to ensure equitable distribution across the counties. The current ICU bed capacity for general patients in Kenya is at 518 in 79 health facilities, 31 public and 48 private facilities. Additionally, there are 297 functional ventilators, comprised of 90 functional ventilators in public facility and 154 in private facilities in the country. Each site has a total of 10 ventilators with 6 ICU beds. These are the sites for isolation, as a total of 10 ventilators and 6 ICU beds. Honorable members, the government of Kenya will receive donation of 105 ventilators from friendly nations, organizations, and individuals. Further, the Ministry of Health has procured 30 ventilators, of which 8 has already been delivered. The received ventilators will be distributed to the counties based on the identified gaps. Additionally, World Bank has already procured 200 ventilators for the Ministry of Health through their procurement procedure as a contingency measure to curb the global shortage. So this one is done directly by World Bank and not by the government. Honorable members, as you're aware, the government has also received several donations from Jack Ma Foundation, based in China, to address the demand of COVID-19 pandemic. And for this, we wish to send our gratitude to Jack Ma Foundation for this noble gesture. Honorable Speaker and members, regarding testing and rollout of mass testing, the country has established 10 functional testing laboratories across the country, which shall have a testing capacity of 37,000 testings per day, including the National Influenza Center, KEMRI Influenza Lab, KEMRI Kilifi, KEMRI Busia, KEMRI Kisumu, Kenyatta National Hospital, HIV Lab at National Public Health Lab, KEMRI HIV Lab, Aga Khan University Hospital, Lancet Laboratories, and Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, which started testing on Monday, the 20th April 2020. Honorable Speaker and members, in addition to the above-mentioned test centers, each county has a gene expert equipment capable of at least testing 20 tests per day for each machine. Some counties have 3 gene experts, others have 4, depending on the number of county and sub-county hospitals. The gene expert cartridges have been procured. When necessary, counties will be able to conduct at least 3,000 tests each day without relying on reference laboratories. 56 out of 187 facilities with gene expert machines are already identified for onboarding as testing sites once the cartridges are available. These honorable members will bring the testing capacity in the country to 37,000 daily. Honorable members, the proposed approach to target testing, phase 1, 50,000 tests will be as follows. The suspected cases, countrywide 1,400, contacts of confirmed cases 3,000, frontline health workers 3,000, quarantine facilities and hotel 5,000, port health and truck drivers 14,000, 5 counties with confirmed local transmission targeting supermarkets workers, PSV workers, market vendors, and people who come to interact with a high number of persons per day. Nairobi, they have 10,000, 5,000 in Nairobi, 2,000 in Mombasa, Mandera 1,000, Kilifi 1,000, and Kwale 1,000. And then we have investigating geographical hotspot at 5,000, Surrey and Erie health facilities at 2,000. Honorable Speaker, in terms of HR capacity, the Ministry of Health is facing the challenge of inadequate numbers, particularly laboratory technologists who are trained to handle the COVID-19 tests. However, it has been noted that the test kits machines are easy to use, and clinical officers and nurses can be utilized to assist in sample collection so that the limited laboratory technologists run the test. Regarding KEMRI capability to do testing and develop much-needed vaccine, the committee wished to bring to the attention of this House the majority of staff deployed in KEMRI labs are not Government of Kenya employees, and mostly are volunteers, which we have 41 of them, while the rest are project employees. Therefore, there is need for the government to review the staff establishment in KEMRI in a view of hiring more staff for the institution, and we, as a committee, will be having a meeting this week or next week, early next week with KEMRI. Further, Ministry of Health is facing serious challenge of an acute shortage of laboratory reagents, testing kits, including PCR kits, which is actually a worldwide problem, and therefore the ministry has started process of procuring reagents for automated machines, that is Roche, Abbott, and Gene Experts, to be able to do 432,000 tests. However, 130 kits to do 26,000 tests, automated reagents from USA Roche reagents arrived the day before yesterday. Honorable Speaker, finally, regarding the cost of treatment of COVID-19 and cost quarantine has been a cause of alarm to the committee as well as the members of the public. The ministry has put in place a system which will help with psychosocial team to access the ability to pay by the COVID-19 patients with a view to waive the bills on case-by-case basis. However, funds are required to reimburse the facilities that are so that they can be able to sustain themselves. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, what's your point of order?
Speaker, I really want to thank the chair. In my theoretical opinion, she has done a very good presentation. But I doubt, and I need that document, the Speaker, where those things really exist, that even every county has a capacity to test. Speaker, I mean, let us be very honest. Let us be very, very honest. All that Honorable Sabina Chege has said, and I'm fasting, I don't think that is existing. And I think the House, and I'll check, because you have said every county has a machine that can test. I can confirm there's counties don't have. There's a serious testing issue here. What we hear, you saw the other day, Kenyans, their bill were about not to be paid. So, Mr. Speaker, because I think we don't have time, we need this document Honorable Sabina has read, and we need, in fact, next time when we have time, we need to, this is the oversight role of Parliament. Honorable Sabina has talked about the usage of 5-point-something billion. We need to be told how that money, whether it is from donors, whether it's from government, how it has been used. If you go to counties, there's nothing going on. Nobody is testing. The numbers in Mombasa are rising. The numbers in Kilifi are, everywhere in the country. And Honorable Sabina was saying, Mr. Speaker, that there are a number of testing going on. So I think this statement needs to be interrogated. Whatever we come to bring to the House must be factual and real. If what Honorable Sabina Chege is true, then by now we should have been part of the countries that are opening their countries. But the way things are going, we only hear numbers. You know, these are the numbers, the 11. But the only thing I can tell you, we hear every day, is we wait for the press conference. Unless something will change after we now pass the appropriation bill. But I think this statement is good, in my opinion. It's a good statement on the face of it. But we need to get one by one in that, Mr. Speaker. And I think maybe you can give direction that every member is given a copy, those of us who want. Because now between this today until next Wednesday, we have enough time. Some of us, we don't stay late at night. So during the day, when we are fasting, I want to interrogate myself and read. If it is this, I can talk to my county and ask, is this thing there? so that the next week, everything that is done in this house must be based on facts. So next week I can say, the following things to have been done are not there.
Honorable John Bandi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also want to thank the Chair Health Committee for that statement. I think this morning, Mr. Speaker, I raised the issue of accountability, which is very important and key, and that is a very significant responsibility of this House. And I'm happy that the committee is trying to address this. But, Mr. Speaker, my concern is, currently, there is no problem in this country bigger than this issue, and in the whole world, of COVID-19. It is my request, Mr. Speaker, that we can make it a tradition going forward. It is unfortunate that we may adjourn soon, that every week we get even 30 minutes and have the chair to address single particular area so that these members can interrogate these issues properly. Mr. Speaker, if you listen to the chair, and I'm sure you did, she is talking of capacity to test 37,000 Kenyans per day. The same thing we have been hearing from the Cabinet Secretary. And when you see the figures that he reads every day, we test 500, 600. There is a total disconnect between what we are being told that we are capable of doing and what is actually happening. Most of us are not professionals in health matters, but we want to know what is this that we are able to test 37,000 and we are only capable of testing 500. On the issue of accountability, Mr. Speaker, it is not the mistake of Kenyans to speculate about the 40 billion. It is the communication from the ministry. If the ministry comes out and speaks something that can be interpreted that the government has spent 40 billion, if Kenyans tomorrow or start immediately tweeting and putting figures in social media, they are not to blame. So now, much as we have praised the ministry for doing an excellent job in trying to help in the fight against this virus, and actually, honorable members, we must agree that the health ministry has tried under the circumstances. But then now they need to step it up and start communicating properly other matters that are of concern to the people. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to confine myself to the statement so that I don't digress to Duale's motion, which is coming shortly thereafter, and just ask that, if possible, Mr. Speaker, we allow every sitting day some time, and we would ask the chair to focus on a particular area of concern to members and address it. Then the next time we address something else. If today we talk about testing and the fight, the following sitting we can talk about the expenditure. Another time we can address the issues of preparedness of counties. Because again, Mr. Speaker, I think God loves us. I will tell you, Mr. Speaker, if this COVID leaves Nairobi and probably Mombasa properly and land on some of our counties, like in my county, I really am not sure whether, Mr. Speaker, my people would survive. So this is something that we should not take lightly because it may just be a matter of time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Just a minute. You have all placed requests, interventions. So let me just follow the list as it is. At some point, I will determine when it is that we should stop. But I would just request the Honorable Sabina Chege and some of your ranking members of your committee, like the Honorable Nyikal, please take note of what members are saying so that, next week, I want to agree with what the Honorable John Bandi has said. This matter is serious. It's the reason why we are sitting the way we are. So we must have something every day. We must get the committee reporting to the House and also being available to respond to the various concerns that members will raise. So the Honorable Sabina Chege, please take note of what is going to be said. Please don't take more than 2 minutes. Honorable Sheriff.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, sir, I heard the Honorable Member, Sabina, when she started by stating that the President had actually formed the special committee. And it is this very House that actually gave life to that committee. However, Mr. Speaker, through various other media sources, the committee has been indicating that they are going to be audited by Deloitte and Touch, which is not as per the rules and regulations governing any particular institute or organization that is being given money by public coffers. So I just want us to be very, very clear on that. And then probably to add, because I know I have amendments on Honorable Duale's motion that is coming up, Mr. Speaker, but I want to confirm that Mombasa is one of those counties that mass testing is starting from tomorrow and is actually being conducted in Mvita constituency. And Mr. Speaker, sir, bearing in mind what it is that we're going to be discussing next regarding quarantine and other matters, it would be vital for us to be able to move forward. And I want to confirm that this is actually being done by the county government of Mombasa. Thank you.
For Funyula.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I must commend the Chair, Departmental Committee of Health, and the Minister of Health for the splendid job they are doing to manage the national anxiety resulting from COVID or corona pandemic. Honorable Speaker, she has given a very flowing statement, which in many cases would hardly even, we call it probably just a theoretical framework, but the reality on the ground is completely different. I speak for Busia County, and I can tell her categorically, as of today morning, any test relating to corona is being conducted in Kisumu, Kemri. The so-called Kemri in Busia is just an empty shell, probably not even worthy the name. We have a medical system that cannot even test malaria. So I wonder why they would mislead the committee that have the ability to test. Honorable Speaker, most of the selected isolation centers in Busia are schools, again, in very bad and deplorable state. I really wonder how well prepared as a country and counties are in respect of managing the pandemic. As I conclude in respect of this matter, Honorable Speaker, is the issue of forced quarantine. I can assure you, Honorable Speaker, and the Chair, that we are going to stigmatize, and the purpose of mass testing is going to be defeated, because all people who would go for mass testing are going to hide and decline to be tested on the ground that the consequences that follows, the so-called international protocol, has stigmatized the process. To an extent, you are plucked from your family, you are taken in very deplorable conditions, your remaining family members are stigmatized. So the first thing that you need to do, and I request you to pass over to the Minister or the CS, that he needs to start.
Babosaku. I told you 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank Honorable Chege for her statement. But as honorable members have said, I come from the county of Marsabit. Actually, not a single mask has arrived in Marsabit, and that is the reality.
Mask.
Mask. Mr. Speaker, this pandemic is international. And apparently, it is as if that this is every country are on their own. Every country are on their own. English is not my first language. Honorable Speaker, on ventilators, I think when one looks at, one watches at the international media, they are saying that countries like Senegal are actually coming up with ventilators as cheap as 6,000 shillings, as opposed to what Americans are producing at 16,000 pounds. So we also need to look at far and wide for this
a pandemic to actually be managed in our country. Finally, Honorable Speaker, it is about personnel. Unless we quickly move and employ as many health personnel as possible, I think the issue of prevention might be actually our solution as a country. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Wajir North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I've just returned from the constituency today, and I can confirm to you that the only corona intervention that is ongoing is curfew during night hours and cessation of movement by police officers. Indeed, I can assure you that there is no even awareness ongoing by the county government, despite the fact that this is a devolved function. And if at all there is any corona, prevention material available, is one donated by the area of member of parliament, probably with that sign of courtesy of honorable so and so. So I can assure you that some of this message we are getting is only in form of writing, and it is the right time that this house, works up to the reality that we do not want very long lectures. We want action. And my fear is that in the event, God forbid, probably the county government of Mombasa happens to be one of the best counties that is doing very well in regards to this corona intervention. But God forbid, some of these counties in northern Kenya, Mr. Speaker, I can assure you that we will have sleepless nights. We will have high mortality level in the event that this coronavirus goes on. Speaker, my request is that if the national government will wish to support constituencies now, we must increase the level of awareness in regards to this corona. As we are speaking, even the social distancing we are talking about, many at the constituency level are not aware. They are even wondering why this curfew is conducted during night hours.
Member for Kimilili, night shift.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to appreciate the chair of the information she has provided, but I want just to urge this House that we have a responsibility to give Kenyans accurate information. We cannot accept as a House to be misinformed by other government entities, Honorable Speaker, and that we have a responsibility to validate, to interrogate, to investigate every information that we get from the CS Health, Honorable Speaker, before we process it and say and tell Kenya's Honorable Speaker. Because, Honorable Speaker, in my own county in Bungoma, the only intervention so far that we have seen is buying a jerrycan, a 20-liter jerrycan with the 10,000 shillings, Honorable Speaker, and taking temperatures of the people. So I will want the committee to be able to validate every information that are getting from government and give Kenyans accurate information. This is not the time to continue in the kind of relationship with the executive that we can get their statements, bring them in this House, and read out to Kenyans. We have a responsibility to go further and verify that the information, the data, the figures that we are getting, that are giving to this House, Honorable Speaker, is accurate. Otherwise, we have every right to ask them to go back and reevaluate the figures they are giving to this House so that we can be able to give Kenyans accurate information, Honorable Speaker. I thank you.
Member for Nyeri Town.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I stand to raise a even much more fundamental issue. Mr. Speaker, members are here every session. They ask for statements. The chairman of the various committees commit to get those statements for us. They come and they read them for us. Mr. Speaker, I would be very concerned if it became clear that the statements we are given in this House are not based on fact. Because I would assume that what we are told is the reality that is on the ground. If it is proven that we are getting statements that are not factual, Mr. Speaker, then as a House, we need to censure anyone who has been giving us statements that are not based on fact. because those statements we get are what we then go and act or make decisions on. So, Mr. Speaker, should any statement that we have received from any ministry be found not to be factual, I think as a House, we need to take a decision and censure that. Otherwise, we are going to be working on information that is not factual, and we will not be able to do our work on oversight or legislation or representation. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Rarienda.
Mr. Speaker, mine is slightly different. I will not speak to the substance because I'm aware there are two motions that will be coming by Honorable Duale, Honorable Munjiri, discussing the same matter. Yes. But, Mr. Speaker, I noticed that the very good statement made by the chair, Honorable Sabina Chege, and the other chairs, they were all very good and all very lengthy. We've taken about 2 hours receiving them. And alive to the fact, Mr. Speaker, that at any one time, only 25% of members are physically present. I wanted to invite your consideration and with possible direction that such statements be published in advance. Members can access them so that when the very good chairs come here, they don't have to read the entire statement because it takes a long time. And then you can only entertain maybe some slight interventions because they take a very long time and we only meet once a week. And secondly, Mr. Speaker, I also wanted to invite your consideration, quite alive to the business that we still have. It is true that COVID is the single most important issue right now. Last week, we did not get there. Today, there's the motion by the leader of majority on the same issue on which there'll be a motion by the member for Nyeri Town. I wanted to invite your consideration of the possibility of merging these considerations so that as many members can speak as possible, but speak in a consolidated manner. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, then, so that you can deal with the issue of COVID much more substantively, don't we need to make progress then? Yes. We need to make progress. Yeah, we need to make progress so that you can go and discuss. No, I'm not dealing with the issue of gender now. It's not about gender. No? We'll proceed. It is a material that you want to raise a point of order. I direct. We move to the next order. Leader majority. Go back to order number. Honorable Amalwa, you can't, from there you can't be calling Honorable Sabina this week. That is out of order. You can't tell me the reasons for it. It's actually bad manners to be shouting across the aisle to the other member. Once a statement has been read, and I quite agree with the Honorable Otiende Amolo, I want to encourage chairs of committees, please make sure that you have copies. You get as many copies as possible of the statements that you are going to present to the House. That which has been laid is you are at liberty to access it from the table office. That's the way it is. Leader majority, go to order number 5.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Wednesday, April 29, 2020, and I want to thank the judiciary for complying with the law in submitting their budget estimates. So I lay, Mr. Speaker, a submission of the Judicial Service Commission budget estimates for the financial year 2020-2021 and related documents, and these are the subsector report, the program-based budget for the medium-term expenditure framework period for 2010 to 2021, the recurrent budget estimates for medium-term expenditure framework for the period 2020 to 2021, 2022 to 2023, and B, submission of the judiciary budget estimates for the financial year 2020-2021 and their related documents. 2, Mr. Speaker, I also want to thank the National Treasury for complying with the law that they must submit before by 30th of April the following documents, and I beg to lay the following papers on their behalf on the table of the House today, Wednesday, April 29, 2020, in the afternoon sitting. The program-based budget of the national government for the year ending 30th June 2021. 2, the estimates of development expenditure for the national government for the financial year ending 30th June 2021. 3, the estimate of recurrent expenditure for the national government for the year ending 30th June 2021. And 4, the list of projects of the national government for the ending 30th June 2021. Mr. Speaker, just before I sit, with your permission, I'll request you allow me to ask all our members to stand and at least clap for our members who are in the front line. You know, you can see members sitting here who are coming to clean, who are making sure the chamber is clean. Can we all stand up, with your permission, Mr. Speaker, and clap for our, from the clerk to everybody for our job? Wonderful done. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. On the same note, while appreciating that Kenya is a multi-religious country, I think as a House we will need to send our warm greetings and best wishes to our Muslim brothers and sisters during this holy month of Ramadan. Tell them Ramadan Kareem. Thank you very much. Next order.
Order number 8, the Public Finance Management Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 2 of 2020. Second reading.
Leader Majority.
Mr. Speaker, based on the time, and also because I'm not intending to extend the sitting this afternoon, because I'm fasting too, I'll ask you that this, the Public Finance Management Amendment, second reading is not that urgent. I can do it next week on Wednesday, so that we can go straight to the Committee of the Whole House, because the Supplementary Appropriation Bill and the Small Claims Bill are very, very important, and it's actually the President wants, if our House agrees, to sign them into law plus the warrants, so that the Minister for Finance can have an opportunity to draw money latest by Monday from the Consolidated Fund.
Very well. Then we take out the business appearing as order number 8, which is the Public Finance Management Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 2 of 2020, which, if those of you who have looked at it, indeed is not, it's a small bill. You can, I'm sure you can clear it even on a morning sitting on Wednesday next week, which that in effect also takes out the business appearing as Roman 3 on order number 9, because it was supposed to be consideration of the same bill in Committee of the Whole House if it was concluded. So therefore, Roman 3 is taken out of the order paper as well. Next order.
Order number 9, Committee of the Whole House.
Other members, we are now doing the Committee of the Whole House on the Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2020, the National Assembly of the National Assembly Bill. Okay, honorable members, we are now ready. Okay, you can start. I propose the question which is at clause 3 be part of the bill. I put the question which is at clause 3 be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Any as of a contra opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 4.
I propose the question which is at clause 4 be part of the bill. I put the question which is at clause 4 be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Any as of a contra opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Schedules. First schedule.
Mover.
Honorable Chair, beg to move that the first schedule be amended. A in vote 10. Honorable Speaker, maybe you allow me to just say as spelled out in the order paper, and just to explain that the first on vote 1011 on the presidency is a reduction of 150 million shillings, 140 million shillings from the Office of the Deputy President Services under the presidency. That is just for the rationalization of their budget. Vote 1092, State Department for Infrastructure, for Transport. This is a realignment of the figure that was under rail transport of 1.6 billion, and that's under B. And vote 1122 on the State Department for Information, Communication and Technology. Honorable Speaker, the order paper has two amendments. I beg that we delete one, is a duplication of the two amendments. So the amendment relates to a figure of 34 million, not billion, 34 million shillings that is being deleted and substituted with a figure of 4 million shillings. That relates to some 30 million shillings that had been reallocated by the departmental committee, Honorable Speaker, on a pending bill for purchase of furniture in their head office at the ministry headquarters that the committee had reallocated, but the money has already been spent, so that is being reversed.
You have to be a little clear. Which one did you say you are proposing to?
On C, Honorable Speaker, there is 1 and 2. So as you realize, Honorable Speaker, is a repetition of the same thing.
Okay.
So it's just deletion of one of them, and I was explaining the rationale of that amendment. D on 1123, on the State Department of Broadcasting, as spelled out on the order paper. That again, Honorable Speaker, is in relation to realignments in the ICT vote on vote 1123, which is a deletion of 785, 672, 238 under the Program of Information and Communication Services, Program 020800, and substituting thereof with a figure of 649, 672, 328, Honorable Speaker. E is on vote 1281, National Security Intelligence, deleting the figure of 3.5 billion Kenyan shillings appearing under program 08004000 national security intelligence in respect of the current estimates and substituting thereof with a figure of 4 billion shillings. Honorable Speaker, that is an increment of 500 million shillings towards COVID expenses on the multi-agency command center on security and tracing of contacts-related issues on COVID. Additional expenditure to the National Intelligence Service. F, Honorable Speaker, in respect of vote 1168, the State Department for Agriculture. This is, Honorable Speaker, by inserting figure of Kenya shillings 2,499,600 under program 001200000. This, Honorable Speaker, this is 1281.
I thought you would be stopping somewhere around vote 1281.
Yes. Have I moved on? No,
Yeah.
I'm moving to that as the last one, Honorable Speaker.
Just a minute. What is it, Honorable? Now I'm using voice recognition. That must be Honorable Gikaria.
1281 was what? 1168.
Honorable Gikaria. What's your point of order? I'm struggling to give you a microphone, Honorable Gikaria. You probably need to come to this one. But in the meantime, as he does, Honorable Chair, you need to indicate whether the vote 1281 is a repetition, because I can see it coming twice. There is a probability there is a repetition there. So once you go through this national intelligence, actually I don't need to ask you.
Yes, Honorable Speaker, I was coming to that. Is also a repetition of the one on E.
Okay, let's
actually,
hear what Honorable
if you look at it, it's word for word the same thing. It's just a similar mistake on the order paper, just like in C.
Okay, Honorable Gikaria, what is it?
Honorable Chair, I want to admit I'm a little bit lost. Honorable, I'm trying to follow what Chair Budget and Appropriation is trying to. I don't know whether it is on our.
Okay.
I'm a little bit lost because I really.
It's a honest confession. Honorable Chair, Budget, find Honorable Gikaria somehow.
Honorable Speaker, the member for Nakuru Town East, if he's lost, Honorable Speaker, we will find him when we get to the State Department for Energy. I know where to find him.
Actually,
so we have to get there.
What Honorable Gikaria is probably saying is that he's not following you, what you have been indicating. Of course, you are doing the first schedule, isn't it?
Yes.
So, Honorable Gikaria, we are on the
so
first
we come
schedule.
to the second schedule where the issues he may want to follow. Maybe on the order paper, Honorable Speaker, yes, on the second schedule, State Department for...
Vote 1152. Yes, vote 1152 is the place I think you want to...
Yes, 1152 is where Honorable Gikaria will be found, Honorable Speaker.
Okay.
Therefore, Honorable Speaker,
well,
that's on page 274.
Honorable Gikaria, we will see how it goes. If it is not clear, we will still give you an opportunity. So, are you through with it, Honorable Chair?
Yes, Honorable Chair, I'm through with the amendments in relation to the first schedule.
Okay. So, I propose the question. Allow me to propose a question first, Honorable Nyikal. So I propose a question which is that the first schedule be amended as proposed by the Chair. First schedule to Honorable Nyikal.
Chair, Anna say 1281. There is actually an increase, and what the Chair said, the Chair Budget said, is that this money is going to COVID and is related to contact tracing. Now, one would have thought that that would probably come under health. So we may need to know a little more. I think I'm where Honorable Gikari was, but at least I know where the figures are. What exactly is that money going to do? It is $500 million. Even the one of agriculture, it wasn't quite clear exactly what the changes are I think only in the first one where I said that money is already spent, and therefore we accepted that. So under E, let's get clearly what is actually being done with that money.
Okay. Yes, I see you, but I don't recognize you. I know, oh, that must be Oudo. Well, it's nobody's mistake. So let's hear Honorable Oudo. I could give 4 members on this because then we finished it. We are finished already.
Honorable Chair, I want to concur with the Honorable Nyikal, Dr. Nyikal. The fear most of us have currently is that the fight against corona or COVID-19 is being militarized. It's turning into a police state, and indeed it needs to come out very clear. I thought contact tracing should be the reserve of the public health because they can tell and conduct tests on the spot to see whether it is worthy, quarantining or the rest. Probably needs to come very clear so that it puts issues to rest. Thank you.
And then I will go to that member there after you. Well, as we prepare to have you work, let's see if you, I'm trying to see you.
Thank you, Chair. I have the mic. And
let him have, you'll get it now.
I agree with all the members who have said COVID-19 is a public case. It's a public health case, yes. It's not a police case. If it is for contact tracing, it should fall under health and not where it is right now.
And who are you anyway, for purposes of record? Who are you? Oh, that's Honorable Wino.
What chief?
Yeah? You see, Ward Chief and others. I'm having a problem giving you the mic. You might have to use this one. It is a bit of a complication here, but 108, let me see.
Thank you. Speaker, I think I want to support this allocation. And I'm supporting because I strongly believe that there is some increase of activities for this department as well. Indeed, there should be a lot to do with information gathering on where there is influx of corona. You know, in regards to this cessation of movement, there is a lot that is happening. So definitely there will be increase in personnel, increase in cost, increase in movement, increase in logistics. So I definitely support this. Thank you.
Okay, maybe lastly, the Honorable Gracious Lady with a windshield. Yes, that one with a windscreen. That must be the member for, is it Ijara? Yes.
Thank you, Chair, for giving me this. And Chair, at this challenging time, it is a responsibility which is a very collective responsibility. With that, I want to support this particular line item because I know when we are doing, when you are tracing for the people, and only health personnel cannot go out there. We need the chief, we need the elders, we need the security personnel, we need the chiefs, we need the police. So it is important that when we are working out on issues pertaining to COVID-19, it is a collective responsibility for this nation, and everybody has a responsibility in one way or the other, Mr. Speaker. Thank you so much. I'm supporting.
Okay, then let's get your decision. So I put the question, which is that the first schedule be amended as proposed by the Chair Budget Committee. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. And I put the question, which is that the first schedule as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Second schedule.
I propose the question, which is that the second schedule be part of the bill. Mover.
Honorable Chair, I propose that the second schedule be amended as proposed on the order paper. Honorable Speaker, the first amendment on vote 1021.
What is it, Leader of Majority Party?
Chair, I really want, before this Chair of Budget and, not this Chair, the Chair of Budget and Appropriation moves an amendment in line with the procedures of the House. He can only move amendments from the National Treasury. And for that to happen, he must confirm to us and give you a copy of the letter from the National Treasury that these amendments belongs to government. So can he, before he moves, can he confirm to the House that that document is been sent to the clerk and he is in order? Otherwise, this House passed the budget, supplementary budget report. So the only way we can alter is if it comes from the budget committee through a letter from the, so that, you know, we are very clear that the chair has no leeway. Anything he's moving must be within the procedure of the House. So can he first confirm? Sorry, I was away the first time he was moving. I had to go and pray. I watched him moving and not tabling anything. So can he first confirm that he has a letter from the National Treasury?
So let us hear from the Alliance alumni. What do you have to say? Or his colleague, the Kabarak alumni?
Honorable Speaker, I can confirm, and indeed the Leader of Majority is perfectly in order, and I can confirm that indeed the amendments that I was even moving to now, the first one, is contained in a letter reference number ES1/07/02B into brackets 36, dated 24th April 2020, signed by the Cabinet Secretary Ukuri Atani. And in relation to this 200 million is rationalization of the additional budgetary provisions of 200 million shillings granted to the State Department for Interior. That is 200 million shillings that had been granted to the DCI offices. DCI as a reallocation from the Departmental Committee on National Security. However, under the famous 40 billion shillings, Honorable Speaker, there was an additional 200 million shillings that had also been provided for policing services, and therefore there is no need to double allocate to 400 million shillings. Also in relation to the multi-agency, it is called the multi-agency command center, Honorable Speaker, the 500 million shillings that members were raising issues on, going to NSIS. A lot of the work in relation to COVID, Honorable Speaker, especially in contact tracing, and I'm sure the Chair Health can confirm this, doctors, nurses, and clinicians don't have the capacity to contact, is it trace contact or contact trace? Trace contacts. But the National Intelligence Service has that capability, working together with telcos, and they're able to do that.
You know, I understand being an Alliance alumni, you really like splitting it. You know there is no difference between contact trace and tracing contacts. It's the same thing. You know, so whatever it is.
Honorable Speaker, there might be a difference. For those of you and my Vice Chair who attended to a school named after somebody, Kabarak, Moi High School, Kabarak, there might be a difference in how you arrange words. But for those of us who went to Alliance, of course...
Are you talking to the chair or you are talking to your vice chair? Because the consequences are different. But proceed anyway.
Chair, it only happens that my vice chair attended the same school with the chair. But in this relation, I'm speaking to my vice chair, not the chair, for obvious reasons. Honorable Speaker, so vote 1021, I've explained, is a 200 million shillings reduction. On vote 1065, State Department for University Education, we are deleting 2,498,256,737 appearing under programs 05004000 University Education in respect of development estimates, and substituting with 2.265443,892. Honorable Speaker, again, that is from the National Treasury, as contained in the letter that I have mentioned, being realignment of development expenditure under the State Department for University Education. Honorable Speaker, vote 1081, Ministry of Health, under Program 040500, Health Policy Standards and Regulations in respect of development estimates. This, Honorable Speaker, relates to additional resources that had been left out, donor funded, and the chair went at length, the chair health, to explain some of the donor funds that have come in. And as you will appreciate, Honorable Speaker, by the time the National Treasury tabled the supplementary estimates, some of these funds had not come in and they had not factored them into this budget, and therefore this came also as an additional amount of donor funds. In respect of D, in respect of vote 1092, State Department for Transport, this, Honorable Speaker, and Marine Transport in that's Program 020333 3000, Rail Transport, and Marine Transport 020400. Again, Honorable Speaker, those are just realignments within the State Department of Transport. Again, coming from the National Treasury. E, Honorable Speaker, in respect of vote 1152, State Department for Energy, and I'm sure the Chair Energy has now been found. Honorable Speaker, this is in relation to, again, reallocations that the departmental committee had done in relation to A&A expenditure from GDC, and the same, the consequential one under 2, the 186 under Program 021200, Power Generation, and I'm sure the Chair understands what that related to, because they had reallocated within the departmental committee monies that were appropriations in aid, and therefore not monies that are available for reallocation. So that is what is being corrected. Under F, Honorable Speaker, on in respect of vote 1166, this is the State Department for Fisheries, Aquaculture, and Blue Economy. This, Honorable Speaker, is counterpart funding, a figure of about 620 million again, which had been left out, counterpart funding, additional counterpart funding from GOK to supplement donor funding to this very important sector now of fisheries, aquaculture, and the blue economy. And Honorable Speaker, you will appreciate with COVID and the challenges that we have with COVID, the aquaculture and blue economy is will be one of the key drivers of our economy, because people can work in the lakes and in the ocean with social distancing with the small boats and fish, and be able to supplement our food production from fishing, Honorable Speaker. The next, Honorable Speaker, in respect of vote 1193, State Department for Petroleum, deleting Kenya shillings 1.310 200,000, appearing under Program 021500, Exploration and Distribution of Oil and Gas in respect of development estimates, and substituting therefore with 1596 200,000. Again, Honorable Speaker, that is in relation, as the Chair is aware, with the 286 million shillings that the committee had also reallocated. Honorable Speaker, in respect of vote 1122, State Department for Information, Communication, and Technology, in respect of vote Program 0217,000, E-Government Services, that is being deleted, the figure of Kenya shillings 2,332,852,895 in respect of the development estimates, and substituting thereof with the expression of 2,582,852,895, again in relation to the reallocations that had been done by the departmental committee, and I'm sure the Chair might be somewhere here, that they had taken from A&A that had already, sorry, not A&A, this they had taken from money that had already been expended through Article 223, and therefore it was not possible to reallocate. That is it, Honorable Speaker, in relation to Schedule 2.
Very well. So I propose the question, which is that the second schedule be amended as proposed by Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, the chairperson, budget. Now, that particular member. Yes, you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Oh, that must be Honorable Makali Mulu.
This is Makali Mulu of Kitui Central.
Yes.
Honorable Chair, I want to support these amendments, but make the following observations. Honorable Chair, when you look at the amendment relating to blue economy, last week in this House, we approved removal of that money from the supplementary budget. And then the money is now coming back again. And Honorable Chair, the explanation we are getting is that because this is counterpart funding of a donor-funded project. And Mr. Speaker, this is what I want to say, that in terms of the way they prepare the budget, I think Treasury needs to get a bit serious. Where they come last week and tell us remove, and then this week we are being told get the money back. It is a reflection of non-consultation with the departments. And it is important Treasury consults departments before they bring these figures to Parliament. I support Honorable Speaker.
Yeah. That particular member who wanted to speak. Is that Honorable Manzo? Okay, we can do this member and then Honorable Manzo. Really, I've been unfair.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I want to support this amendment and say that donor-funded projects already are funded directly, although the Ministry or Treasury is already familiar with those ongoing projects, Chair. And when it comes to fighting COVID-19, almost every department, Chair, is involved in one way or another. So those arrangements support eventually the total war against COVID-19. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. I see interest again on this particular one, and yet it doesn't look very...
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I just wanted to go into the footsteps of Honorable Makali, where he had said that the funds had been removed, especially on the touching on the blue economy. And coming from the Committee on Agriculture, Honorable Chair, this was our concern actually when it came to the supplementary. But the reversal and once now the Ministry is bringing it back, Honorable Chair, we feel it's appropriate and we want to support the Chair for Budget and Appropriation. That, Honorable Chair, this will have a very big effect in terms of the food nutrition for the COVID patients in the situation as it is. Therefore, we support Honorable Chair.
On point. Now, that member at the very end, and probably that will be it. I don't see anything or there's something on health.
Thank you, Chair. Mine, I am in both ICT and budget. I just wanted to seek clarification from the Chair budget on clause number H on the State Department for ICT, the increment for 200 million, what it relates to, because I think it must have been confused with an earlier reallocation. I think maybe there could be a mistake in the order paper, so that it just clarifies. Because the reallocation for 200 million was not under development, it was under to recurrent, to Media Council and KBC.
Okay.
But I'm seeing here it's like it's being reversed. So the Chair maybe might need to confirm before we...
Chair, you should be looking at that. And the Chair, health, what is it? I think your time, I don't think you are interested anymore. Okay, I'll give this Chair, and then I'll give Chair ICT, and then, but let's be brief. And then that very end, the rest we can speak to the next one. We are having a problem with your mic. You have been having it since morning. It's a problem. ICT can have the floor. I can't get your mic unless you come this way.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Actually, it's the same clarifications Honorable Nyamita was asking, Chair budget, because 1122 is increasing 200 million that had been reallocated as a recurrent to go to what the member for Wajir North said. People on the ground, they don't know anything about what is happening in the country. So we reallocated 200 million to KBC and Media Council for local TV and radio stations. So I don't know where the chairman budget is getting 200 million to take to for 1122, and we had removed it from the e-government to recurrent. So I ordered to find where he's getting that particular money, because it's going to negate what we've done under Schedule 1.
Supporting Honorable Nyamita?
Yes.
Okay. I hope the chair is listening.
And we cleared that one yesterday with the budget committee.
Okay. Chair Health, please have your floor.
Thank you, Chair. Mine I stand to support Chair. And I think it's good for members of this House to be keen, and especially on allocation of money, what is being allocated, because a lot of things that are coming out, Chair, is that there's some money that has already been given by donors, but indicated like it's the money that's already been spent. So it's important that the members be keen and listen to the allocations. We are the ones who allocate the money in this House. Okay. And so as we make progress, it is important we note what we are allocating now, and especially on donor and on health. Thank you, Chair.
Now, Chair, budget, you can be responding to particularly that one of ICT.
Chair, let me first confirm to the Chair and the member, Honorable Nyamita, who is a member of the ICT committee, that the 200 million that's related to an allocation of 150 to Media Council and 50 million to KBC, those ones are intact. This, if you take the difference of 2332, 852, and 2582, that's the 250 million shillings that had been reallocated, Chair, from the 650, which is not available. So it is only that, and not the 200.
Therefore, make your decision. So I put the question, which is that the second schedule be amended as proposed by Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Many as of our contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. And I put the question, which is that the second schedule as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Many as of our contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Proceed. Next. Okay. Proceed.
New clause 6.
What is your point of order, Honorable Gikaria? You see, what is your number of your 184?
Thank you, Chair. Maybe, Chair, because when we talk about budgets, and Chair, you'll agree with us that we are in very, very unusual times. The time that you're given for us as committee at the committee level to be able to do some things, it is not the usual way. So it has been a little bit unusual. And this is why I'm begging your indulgence, and maybe you can give me a way forward. Honorable Chair, there is one payment that I didn't hear the Chair budget mention, and that is money that was meant for Longalani Suswa. That is a transmission line from Longalani to Suswa, and the information that we had requested from the ministry came in very late, giving an explanation as to that figure and why we should be paying it. Honorable Chair, we want to believe, because I didn't hear it, and maybe you can give me...
Unfortunately, that is gone.
Yes, and that's why we were asking, Honorable Chair, sometimes when you say point of order, at least I have sat here
But just off the cuff, know that it will change anything. Do you have anything in that direction, Honorable Chair, budget, or we...
Because Honorable Chair, if I could explain...
Let's have the Chair budget respond to that.
Chair, I understand where the Chair Energy is lost at when the leader of majority stood on a point of order and said what is actually our procedures, that everything that we do in the appropriations bill must be as a result of the report that was tabled, debated, and adopted by the House, The issue that Honorable Gikaria is speaking about relates to Loyangalani Suswa line, an amount of 1.16 billion shillings, which the Energy Committee, in their own wisdom, last year advised that we do not approve until an audit report is tabled before the House. That was adopted through a resolution of this House, Honorable Speaker, and the same when the Chair Energy appeared before the committee during the processing of this supplementary budget, reiterated that is still the position of the Energy Committee. However, this morning, Honorable Chair Energy did approach me with letters from the Ministry of Energy that purport to be explaining the whole issue. And Chair, unfortunately, my hands are tied. I am unable to reverse the decision of the committee and the resolution of the House until and unless, because the other challenge, Honorable Speaker, that I'm confronted with, the documents that I got are just from the Ministry of Energy. The Budget Committee or even the Chair Budget Committee does not have any interaction with MDAs. They interact with the departmental committees. The departmental committee, when they interact with the Energy Ministry and they are satisfied that the audit has been done, they are okay with the payment. Honorable Speaker, since the annual estimates have just been tabled, there is a similar issue, Honorable Chair, relating to a payment also, I think, of $1,081 shillings under the Ministry of ICT. And we have, I think the most logical thing is to process these things, Honorable Speaker, with the annual estimates.
That
and
is clear.
have them approved.
So we go now to,
together with the annual estimates.
Let's go to, because we are already having, let's go to, clause 6 have been called. So I want to call the mover to move second reading of the new clause. You will have your time, leader. You will have your time. I'll give you your time now, but we are already at clause number 6. But that is water under the bridge. But what is it, leader? You know, sometimes we will take a lot of time on something that is already flowed. So what is it, leader?
Chair, we need, to make our brother, the Chair of Energy, have comfort. The problem is what I have said earlier. We cannot deviate from the budget and appropriation report on the supplementary appropriation 2. You are bound by that. You can change. But because that was not captured, the Energy Committee itself gave a different version. And again, I wish we had a letter from the National Treasury on the matter. We don't have it. So I really want to tell the Chair Energy, we will revisit this when when the Budget Committee is dealing with the estimates for 2020, 2021. We assure you that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that Honorable Raso? Because this thing is gone. What is the number of your 317? I can't see it here.
Thank you, Chair. Mine is a quick one. Looking at vote 1081, health, actually it is reducing. Can the Chair confirm that?
No, we will now not go that direction, Honorable Raso, because that is a matter that has been finalized.
Mr. Chair, it is important, really.
But we cannot reopen this.
And also, can he confirm that there are no allocations to the counties in terms of national government support? Thank you, Chair.
She is not even in now. But she is not in. But since we had finished, probably that's a question we will ask in a different forum. Really, because she is not there herself. I do not think anybody can answer on her behalf. Yours is a valid question. The Chair, I really do not want us to reopen in that manner. We would.
The paper, Honorable Speaker, and it says that the following new clause be inserted immediately after clause 5. This, Honorable Speaker, relates to the ring fencing of appropriations that, Honorable Speaker, the great people of this country should note are sacrifices from members, honorable members of parliament, from both the National Assembly, the bigger chunk, as I said in the morning, of almost 2.3 billion shillings coming from the National Assembly, that we have sacrificed from our own budget to go towards the fight against COVID. And as we said in our report, Honorable Speaker, we wanted this money ring-fenced to ensure that the money goes specifically to cater for some of the issues that you had the Chair Health speak about in terms of ensuring that there are enough PPE for our frontline health workers in the hospitals that are dealing with COVID-related matters. Honorable Speaker, the money is appropriated in the second schedule in respect of what R10081 Ministry of Health under Program 0405,000 Health Policy Standards and Regulations shall be earmarked for COVID-19 pandemic interventions and shall be ring-fenced as follows. A, Honorable Speaker, is to provide an amount in a referral hospital, an amount of Kenya shillings 500,000, that's $500 million. Again, this is the second treatment. You appreciate that Nairobi has been the epicenter of this disease, Honorable Speaker, and therefore 2 facilities in Nairobi. In Western Kenya, Honorable Speaker, we have Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital in Kisumu County, receiving an amount of 400 million shillings from members of parliament. Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, and I wish the Honorable Chepkut, he's actually here, Honorable Speaker, Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital that Honorable Chepkut has been very vocal about, including this morning. And I want to assure Honorable Chepkut that in the annual estimates that have been tabled, we will consider the issue of the 900 million shillings that is a deficit of salaries and wages at MTRH in Eldoret. They will receive an amount of 400,000 shillings, being a sacrifice from members of the North Rift and all members of parliament and senators from
I wonder whether
Kenya.
Honorable Chepkut is keen.
Kitui Hospital.
Because you have talked about 400,000. That really
400 million shillings.
That's a
Honorable
better
Speaker,
correction.
that correction, 400 million shillings.
Okay.
Kitui Hospital, Honorable Speaker, you remember there were reported cases of COVID in Kitui. I think there was one confirmed case and a number of contacts the last time I read news from Kitui. And they are doing a splendid job trying with Kikotech, doing masks for the members of the public. We, members of parliament, have given them 300 million shillings. Mandera Hospital, that has also been an epicenter of this pandemic in northern parts of Kenya. They will receive, again, from members of parliament and senators, 300 million shillings. And the Coast General Hospital, Honorable Speaker, where the member from Vita comes from and is a host to this hospital. And I must take this opportunity to commend the governor from Mombasa. He is indeed doing well, together with the member of parliament from Vita. They are doing very well. And the member for Nyali.
Order. There is a member here who is not observing social distancing. I do not know whether it is. Yeah, you proceed and take your seat.
It is a member for Kajiado.